Hello again. Welcome back to the Flying Style Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Steven Maslij.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? And hello, Matthew. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's been a good week this week as we are coming back into this week with a 6-1 team. The Eagles beat the Dolphins this week, 31-17, beating one of the better teams in the NFL, silencing the haters a little bit. Big bounce back win for the team. It was a fun one this week. So, jumping right into it, what did you think?
Dude, we held their offense to 10 points, and our team offensively looked great. We took advantage of their bad defense. Tyreek gave us a little bit of trouble here and there. That was kind of annoying, but what can you expect? He's maybe the best receiver in the league, barring if you want to argue Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, whatever. He's right up there, that upper echelon.
I think you're forgetting that AJ Brown guy.
Well, I'm gonna get into him. That's what I was segueing to. We had a great game offensively. AJ Brown had 10 receptions, 137 yards, and a touchdown. That's what my segue was. Goddard played fantastic as well. Devonta Smith had a pedestrian game, but he did his job. We ran the ball decently well, not amazingly, and overall, it was probably our most complete game I've seen from this team thus far, other than against the Bucs. And I think this Miami team is a little bit more impressive than the Bucs. So I'm very happy with it. It was a primetime game. People are coming in this week having questions with the same 5-1 for 5-1 with the Dolphins. And now, like I said last week, the question is, are the Dolphins even legit? Because we can't get any credit whatsoever, because that's why, God forbid, they give us any credit for beating a good team. The other team just has to suck. But we had a great game with those Kelly Green jerseys. Look fantastic. And I'll switch it over to you. Do you have any complaints, really? Honestly?
Sorry. Not a whole lot of complaints this week. Everything was pretty good. Obviously, the two turnovers were, a little harmful. Both turnovers were on our side of the ball, on our side of the field. So that was definitely difficult for us. One was a pick six and one was a fumble on the 25-yard line. So we definitely really have to, get that fixed up and figured out, because turnovers do lose you games, as we saw against the Jets. So that's one thing I definitely want to focus on this week, making sure to make smart decisions, avoid turnovers, stuff like that. Otherwise, the defense played great. The defensive line was getting to the quarterback. We held, like you said, we held their offense to one touchdown and a field goal, which was fantastic. Most people consider the Dolphins the best offense in the league. So that was huge. We definitely shut them down. Like we talked about, and we talk about every week, we shut down the run game, which was huge. Our run stop this year has been absolutely phenomenal. Something we're definitely taking for granted right now. Because sometimes they pick up 5 yards, 8 yards, people get a little annoyed, whatnot. Like, in general, this defense has been stopping the run almost completely and just taking it out of the game, which really upsets offenses. So that's been really impressive to me. So big shout out to Jordan Davis and the guys up front for that. We knew what we were going to expect from Tyreek Hill. I expected more yards from him, to be honest. I thought that our guys played pretty well in the back end. A lot of his catches were through our zone, and I think that our zone was getting picked apart a little bit from time to time. I definitely want to see the defense clean that up a little bit. It almost looks like a Madden zone, where they're getting to the spots they're supposed to, yes, but they're not trying to take the routes away from the receivers in their zones. So I want to see them clean that up a little bit. Obviously, we still have some guys hurt back in the secondary, but we got a new addition. We haven't talked about that yet.
Sir.
Kevin Byard coming over to the Eagles from the Titans.
Sir.
We clearly have some dirt on the Titans, owner or GM over there. I don't know what's going on, but picking up Kevin Byard for Terrell Edmonds' 5th and the 6th round pick is definitely an awesome pickup. Byard is 30 years old, so he's definitely getting a little long in the tooth, but he's still relatively in his prime. He has a few more years. We still have him locked up through this year and next year, which is also huge. So this was a great pickup. Obviously we needed some help over at safety. I kind of wanted us to go after Buda Baker, but I know that was probably unrealistic in the financial department. So this was, a great middle ground for that. I'm super happy with the pickup. We needed that veteran help in the back end, and I'm excited to see what happens with him in our lineup. And I'm also excited to see if Howie has any more plans for trades going forward before the deadline.
No, dude, this is a great pickup. He's I was watching a podcast because I didn't know so much about him this year, especially. I haven't watched much Titans football, but Jeff Fisher on a podcast was saying like that Titans team screwed. They apparently he was running he was basically their middle linebacker in that defensive scheme. Like he was telling people where to go. He had to focus more on where other people were going rather than like himself playing defense. I think it's a great pickup. He's a 2-time All-Pro. He's one of those guys that in film he does stand out. He does have a lot of picks. He has good stats overall in his career. And I mean, hey, like he's better than Terrell Edmunds, and I know that for a fact already just by watching the game film. And that's if you get an upgrade like that, especially at a key position like safety, you see what happens in the past when we done that. Thank you, Malcolm Jenkins. I don't want to say that far. I don't want to go that far, but yeah, I'm very excited.
It's a similar type of difference maker, and it's definitely super exciting for a team that's been struggling in the secondary, especially at the safety position. So that's going to be huge for our young guys playing safety in the back, like Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown. They're going to have quite the mentor to talk to now, which is awesome as well. And I do not know what he's getting paid, to be honest. I don't know what his contract looks like, but I know that Howie knows how to do his thing and put the team together the right way, and I'm definitely a fan of this pickup.
No, for sure. And neither of those picks are even our picks. They were acquired.
Yeah, one was from the Titans. We just gave them their pick back.
Yeah, thank you. So you could have Terrell Edmunds. We'll just upgrade.
I did find it funny that Terrell Edmunds was involved in the deal because I did think while I was watching the game, while I was watching the Dolphins game, I was thinking in my head that he really wasn't playing very well, and he really just isn't where he's supposed to be most of the time, and he's always a little late to the ball. And I guess Howie noticed just as much as I did because I think that he saw this past game and thought that we're going to struggle with Terrell Edmunds back at safety. And I kind of agree. I mean, Terrell Edmunds didn't do a horrible job. He just didn't do a good one. And, no disrespect to him. I understand he's a great player with veteran talent and whatnot, but he just wasn't quite fitting in. He always seemed a little slow to get to the ball. He always seemed like in his safety help, he was kind of in the wrong position. Especially that play against Tyreek this past game. That was a Terrell Edmunds play right there, where our safety help was lined up in the box, by the linebackers. How are you going to run man coverage on Tyreek Hill and have our help coverage in the freaking box?
You're not beating Tyreek Hill to that spot. Yeah, exactly. You could beat a tight end to that spot maybe, but you can never beat Tyreek Hill there.
I don't know if that alignment was how the play was supposed to be ran or if Edmunds was in the wrong spot or what. But you can't be doing that. And, I do think that Desai has done a better job in running this defense in the past few weeks. I think that he's stepped up his game, made some adjustments. I've been impressed with what he's been doing so far. I wasn't the first few weeks, but he does still have some play calling issues here and there. I still don't always agree with his play calling and when he does his play calling. And I'll never agree with the prevent defense he runs in 2-minute drills. And, when we're up late in the game, I hate that. I always will. Doesn't matter which team it is. Doesn't matter how good we are. So that I'll always have a problem with. I do think that he still runs that zone a little too often, but I know you also can't run man every play either. So, I don't know exactly what I'm asking for here, but I do want them to, clean up the play calling a little bit and just be a little more aggressive in general. They have the guys to be aggressive. And I feel like when they are aggressive, they get to the ball a lot more. So, and maybe that's, obvious, but, I just think that they have more of an opportunity to do so.
No, I mean, we've been playing great overall. We've been increasing our sack totals. We got 4 sacks, Sweat having 2 this week. However, the main storyline that the subplot of outside of the game in general that I've seen over a lot of things is the fact that we didn't get one single penalty called against us. The Dolphins had 10 penalties that took away 70 yards from them throughout the game, and we had 0 for 0. There are definitely some calls that could have been made. They basically got karma back for that face mask PI when they ran that 4th down or 3rd down. What do you take from that? I know that obviously there was you can pick spots in every team where you could show a hold throughout the game, and you could show things that happen. What do you take from getting 0 penalties? Is that just home field? Do I not look into it too much? Is everyone just making a big deal about it and just being little butts?
Well, here's the thing. Everybody's always like, as the winning team, obviously we're not going to complain about it. And as, a losing team, everybody's going to complain about it, no matter what. So like that's one thing. I don't really buy into it too much. Granted, I do think that, I was given not only did I see it throughout the game, but I've seen visual evidence of a few penalties that definitely got overlooked by the Eagles, and I'm not going to doubt that. I don't know whether that's home field advantage or if they just missed it, but I will say that I feel like most of the time that I watch Eagles home games, they get the most penalties almost every time. That's how I tend to feel. So I usually don't buy into the whole home field thing. And on top of that, the pass interference didn't get called, and then they obviously got a pick 6 right away. So that basically takes away that discrepancy right there. I think there were a couple holding calls we got away with. But there's holding calls that offensive lines get away with every game, including the other team, including the Dolphins. I saw quite a few on the Dolphins that didn't get called as well. But what I will say for certain, I don't know what to say too much on the lack of calls for the Eagles. That I don't know what the refs were doing in that regard. I didn't think that we played a sloppy game. Like I said, I think I saw 3 or 4 missed penalties that they had. I don't think it was egregious. But what I will say is that every penalty I saw from the Dolphins was a penalty, except for maybe that late hit on Jalen Hurts in the second quarter. I think that was soft. I'm not going to lie.
If that happened to us, I would have been pissed.
Yeah, so, that definitely sucks on their end. But other than that, every time I saw a penalty, it was pretty blatant. So, I don't feel bad about it. I'm not going to sit here and tell them that they're right in this regard because, that's every game. And we've had games where we've gotten screwed over by the refs too. So, it happens to every team. It's the same thing, and no game is ever decided by penalties specifically. You have a whole game to play. So, it is what it is. People are going to talk about it. People are always going to find ways to, disregard the Eagles or put them down a little bit because everybody's a fan of their own team, bottom line. We'll always do whatever we can to hype them up, and we'll sit here and crap on Dallas no matter how good they are because that's just how fans are. So, I don't really buy into it too much. I think people are just complaining and want to find reasons that the Eagles aren't good. And, they have points, but, the Eagles have had up and down games so far. And, but so has every other team in the league. And as of the power rankings right now, and based on what I've seen, the Eagles are number 1.
Hey, and I'll take that all day long. I know another thing that we benefited from there was a little bit of the Waddle injury where he missed like almost half the game. He still was your second leading receiver with 6 receptions for 63 yards. But him going out did help. Just like not they were going to Tyreek a little too much, and we kind of just keyed in on him. It wasn't. I'm not saying I ever wish for injury, but it definitely didn't hurt us in that fact that they didn't have another speedster out there. But yeah, so great win. Do you have anything else to say about this game before we move on to Washington?
Not particularly, but I did want to shout out a little stat about Josh Sweat that that you were mentioning how well he played earlier. People are really underappreciating how well Josh Sweat has been playing this season because I think people will be surprised to hear how good his stats actually are in comparison to some other guys, namely the 2 best defensive players in the league in Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons. So through 7 games, Josh Sweat has 1 less tackle than Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons. He has 3 more sacks than Bosa and a half more sack than Parsons. he has 3 more QB hits than Parsons and 3 less than Nick Bosa. So what that tells you is that he's playing on the same level as Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons right now. And that's pretty freaking cool to me. I mean, people are definitely underappreciating the kind of impact that he has. And I think that he's been having a really good season this year. And he's basically everything that everyone wanted Derek Barnett to be. Yeah. And we got him in the later rounds, and he's definitely been panning out. And I love my guy Sweat, and I hope he just keeps continuing to improve, because that's all we've seen from him every year of his career is just slight improvement every year.
Yeah, no, he did great last game and was amazing. And like, I know Reddick didn't have the flashiest game stat wise with sacks, but he was getting back to that running back very quickly.
Oh, he kept breaking up plays, but I'm not gonna lie, every single one of those he got blocked right into it, and I found it hilarious. But either way, it means he's in the right spot. Don't get me wrong. But it was definitely very funny that he was like actively getting blocked into the play. The running back would try to cut back, and the lineman would block him right back into him. So
they were struggling with injuries there too on their O line as well. But a little miscommunication.
They were definitely the team was definitely beat up as well. So definitely take that into consideration. I don't think the Dolphins are a crappy team, but we definitely slowed down their offense, and I think that's the big upside here is that, we were able to slow down probably the best offense in the league right now. And in the air was my big thing. We stopped them through the air for the most part. And that was not something I expected to see from our secondary with the way they've been playing this year. So definitely overall a very impressive game. Still some things to clean up, always will be. But, great game against a good team and a great bounce back win to prove that Jets game didn't mean anything.
Yes, sir. All right. So looking through to this Washington game, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, but Washington's going into a bye the week after this. The Eagles have the Cowboys the week after they play Washington. They'll be looking ahead. Oh, like Washington basically should have won that game. I mean, they could have won if they went for. I think they could have won if they went for 2 last game. It was a very close game. Went to overtime with them. What do you take from this Washington team that has been playing awful lately? If I were to say, other than I guess the Falcons. But other than that, they've been their last 3 games. They lost to Chicago by 20. They beat the Falcons, and then they just lost to New York, and they scored 7 points against that New York defense. Looking at this game just straight up, how do you feel going into it? What are your thoughts, and what should I be afraid of?
Well, I'll start with things to be afraid of, and I'm going to start off with their defense. I do think their defense is their strong side of the ball. Their offense has definitely been heavily struggling this past few weeks, and I think that's the biggest reason they're losing. But all these games, I don't feel like I'm usually seeing them lose by big amounts. Like they're never really high scoring games. I don't think I've seen them. I could be wrong here. I'm not looking at stats or anything, but I don't think I've seen them allow an opponent over like outside of the 20-point range.
An opponent?
Yeah, like I don't think they've allowed 30+ points from anybody yet.
Us, the Bears, and the Broncos. And
right, they played. Okay, then I'm just dead wrong. Sorry, but yeah, but my point that I'm getting at here is based off what I've seen from them this year is they keep every game pretty close. They're not a good team, but they're not a bad team either. They're going to get written off as a bad team because of their record, but I don't think they're a bad team. I think they're very capable on both sides of the ball, especially defense. But I do, however, think that this time around, the Eagles team is more awake, more in tune. They already had their, knockdown game from the Jets. And I think they're ready to kick it into gear. And I don't expect to see a similar outcome to what happened around this time last year with the Commanders. I don't expect to see the same thing we saw in the first time we played them this year either. I do expect this game to be a little bit I'm not going to say a blowout because the Eagles don't really blow people out very often. I think that they're gonna start off really hot, get ahead really quick, probably like 14, 21 points like right off the bat, and then they're gonna slow down their game. And you might see the Commanders score a few points in there. We'll probably get like a field goal or 2 or something, and it'll turn out to be like a 27 to like 27-10 kind of game. But it's 17 points, like I still think we're gonna beat them pretty handily, but they're gonna have points where they inch back or it seems a little closer or anything like that because it's still a divisional game, and I do think that their defense is good, but I don't expect their offense to be able to keep up this time around.
I don't know if they can guard. I don't know what that corner's name was. He probably got benched at this point. But when who was the corner that was crying on the sideline with?
I forget what his name was actually.
I'm blanking on his name. But anyway, last game, AJ had 9 for 175 and 2 tutties against.
Yeah, speaking of, that's something else I wanted to mention. People have probably seen it on Instagram, Twitter, whatnot, but that's another huge thing that AJ Brown has gone 5 straight games over 125 yards, which has only happened one other time, I believe, with Calvin, or 2 other times with Calvin Johnson, and I do not know the other guy, but I remember seeing it in the stat book thing.
Yeah, that's amazing, and he's been dominating. We've been getting the ball a lot, and
I guess he made the right call complaining in week 1, when he wasn't getting the ball.
Hey, we're targeting him, so it's all working out. Just get the ball in his hands, always open.
I have been a little distraught with the lack of success that Devontae Smith's been seeing this year. Not like terribly, and I'm not blaming Devontae Smith or Hurts, but it's definitely tough to have 2 star players and expect to see production from both of them. And, you're seeing what happens, when AJ Brown gets 5+ games of 125+ yards, it means that Devontae Brown isn't getting the ball as much. And it definitely sucks a little bit. And I hope that he gets his share or has his big day game coming up soon. Hopefully this one. He had a big game against the Commanders last year. But,
yeah,
at the end of the day, him step up into the offense a little more.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna be upset. He still gets his targets. Obviously, he hasn't had the season that even when he started off the season with 7 catches, 47 yards, and he had the 4 catches for 131 against Minnesota when AJ was complaining, which is just kind of funny because Devontae's not complaining right now. But it's if you're succeeding, you just have to keep going back to it all works out. He's gonna have his chances, and he still always does have his chances. And I don't think I take anything away from Devonta for just not having the stats that
no, it's part of the flow of the game. I'm not blaming anybody. I just love him. I'm personally just saying I love Devontae, and I'd love to see him involved a little more. And to be honest, I feel like the ball doesn't get thrown his way a whole lot, and I don't think I don't know if that's on his part or Hurt's part, but I don't know how often he's been getting open. It feels like, and not to mention he's struggled with his hands a little bit here and there, which I'm not worried about at all. But I definitely hope that he can find his groove so that he can keep his head in the right spot. Understand that he's Devontae freaking Smith and can do his thing and dominate people. I just hope it doesn't, take a toll on him in any way or anything like that,
Yeah. No, and as much as you mentioned the Commanders' defense in this game, and they have been a solid defense throughout the year, I think that this game is going to come down to how crappy the Commanders play on offense. I think our defense has ramped it up to a point where I don't think Sam Howell will pick us apart again. Last game, he almost had a 75% completion percentage with going 29 for 30 or 29 for 41.
I think the defense has adjusted since then.
It has definitely adjusted. It has ever since letting up 31 points. They let up 14. They let up 20 to the Jets. That wasn't kind of 20 because that pick 6. Then we let up 17 to Dolphins, which is kind of 10 because of this 2 pick. All right, the glorified pick 6 against the Jets and the actual pick 6 to the Dolphins. But our defense has been great since the Commanders game, and I think we killed them. I really do. I don't see a reason they can score, and I don't see how they could stop us through the air on defensively. I think they got their shot last game and caught us slacking and sleeping. And I think that was a divisional game that you kind of predicted the same thing. And obviously when you see someone twice a year, it's hard, but I really think we just blow them out of the water. I don't think they're looking ahead at all. They were talking to Nick Sirianni about Dallas a little bit, and he kind of got mad at the reporter that asked and was like, "Hey, like, are you serious? Like, we don't play that."
Of course, they're not looking ahead. This is still, like I keep saying, this is still is and always will be a divisional game. It matters no matter how bad the team is, and no matter how bad the team is, they can still win. Look back at the Dolphins beating the crap out of the Patriots every so often, in their division when they had Tom Brady. Tom Brady and the Patriots were almost undefeated every year. And one of those losses would almost always come to the freaking Dolphins, who had nobody for years.
Yeah.
So my point being is that the NFL is still the NFL. They are all very good players, no matter how bad the team is, and any team can win at any given moment. You obviously have an idea of how the teams are going to play. You get to see them for a while. You see their trends, whatnot. Go ahead and make your picks. But it can always happen. Guarantee nobody had the Eagles losing to the Jets that day. I'm sure a couple people did, but
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just like you don't think people didn't see the Bills losing to the Patriots. Like, it wasn't like these type of games are when certain players are familiar with others, they know their weaknesses. Like, if you're lining up against an O-line guy that's been there for years and you know his weakness is an inside shoulder, like, you're going to attack his inside shoulder. And you already know that going in because you experienced it twice a year. Like, you get to go, oh, that's his weakness in his first game. I'm just going to attack that the entire time this game. And, how they adjust to it is that. But obviously it's a divisional game. I'm not even taking anything away that we're from the Commanders. I just think that I think this Miami is a step in the right direction. I think this
absolutely is.
Us going more above and beyond and becoming more elite. And the Commanders have only taken a step down, in my opinion, just even after us. Like, they beat the Falcons. Okay.
Well, I can almost guarantee you this. You can lock it in that what's his name? Terry McLaurin? Terry McLaurin's going to have over 80 yards.
I mean, he
always does. He literally always does. No matter how well the rest of the team plays, somehow Terry McLaurin ends up with 100 yards every time we play them.
It is pretty funny. And he's been having pretty good games. Yeah, it is pretty funny how he just has our number. He had 86 yards.
He always has our number.
I mean, hey, he's a good receiver.
He is. He's a great receiver. I love Terry, but it's strange that he somehow turns into Calvin Johnson every time he plays the Eagles. I don't really understand it.
Makes at least one where that ridiculous catch against us last time where it got caught out of bounds, but it's But that being said, I think if we get pressure on somehow, which we finally got to get pressure on people, I don't know if he's even going to be able to make those throws. I'm not scared of Brian Johnson that as much as I should be. Let me know if Brian Johnson is a leading ball carrier last week.
Brian Robinson.
Why did I say Brian Johnson?
That is our offensive coordinator.
Calvin Johnson. Chris Rodriguez actually ran the ball for them last week. Was their leading carrier last week for 7.
Well, that's one thing I feel like I can say for certain is that I don't expect much out of the rushing game. Not only have we been killing it in the rush defense, but they're not exactly known for their run offense. Brian Robinson, he's okay. He definitely had a cool story last year in his comeback return. I do think that he's very talented, but he's not, that game breaker guy. So, I expect to see maybe 30 yards out of him, maybe 40. Not much more, not much less.
Yeah. So, going by the game, how do you see this playing out? What's your final score prediction?
Well, I already gave it earlier, so I'm going to stick with it and going with the 27 to 17. Yeah, 27 to what did I say? 27-10? Yeah.
Yeah.
27-10. I do think that we're pretty much going to dominate them on the defensive side of the ball, and the offense is still a little wishy-washy because I still don't have faith in Brian Johnson. And, I still need assurance that Hurts has really cleaned up his decision-making and, pocket presence and whatnot. I feel like he's definitely been taking steps in the right direction and getting back to where he needs to be. But he's still struggled here and there. So I need to see some more assurance from Hurts. I need to see better play calling from Brian Johnson. So with that all being said, I'm still sticking 27-10.
But it's not a blowout, though, right?
I guess you can call it a blowout. I'm not saying it's going to be I feel like when you're watching the game, you're not going to call it a blowout. but it might
Okay.
end up that way.
Okay. Where they still move the ball on us a little bit. Okay, I can see that. All right. I'm gonna call mine a blow up. I was gonna be a similar spread. I'm gonna go 31-13. I think that we're gonna be able to move the ball on them. I don't know if we're gonna keep the pedal to the metal enough to like actually like you said, blow them out. Like you're not gonna like see like us put up crooked numbers like 45 and like get into the 40s. I don't know if we'll get that far as that. All right, I see what you're saying now. I understand what you're saying. That's a blowout, like 45-10. Okay,
No, you're not going to see it be 28-0 at some point.
Yeah. I mean, you could see that, but
you could. I'm not saying you can.
I'm
just saying I don't think you're going to.
I know. I'm going to say you're going to, and I think they come back a little bit in the second half. I'm going to go 31-13, I guess, if they even get 13 points. But I think we're just going to dominate this team. I think that in the second half, our entire game plan is going to be able to run the ball down their throats, and I just don't think we're looking ahead. I think we had our little scare, and I don't think this team is too high enough. I don't think this team's looking past to Dallas. I don't see anything. I just think they're next game up, and I don't know. I know they're coming off a big win. This is everyone says situational spot. I'm not worried by it. So that's my take.
All right. Well, before we go, I got a fun little bit for you that I just want to ask. We're at about mid-season this year. We're at week 8. We've got up to week 18, right? Yeah, week 18, but we played 17. So we're about midway. I just want to hear your thoughts. Who are your top 5 teams in the NFL right now?
Well, can I name us?
Of course, yeah.
Obviously.
We are in the top 5.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to put us at – I'm not going to put us at 1 because I feel like that's kind of biased.
Hey, the power rankings have us at 1 right now, so just do what you got to do.
All right. I mean, personally, the way that Chiefs defense has been playing was surpassing my expectations of them. I still think that I just don't know how they're getting it done so well. Like they have Rashid Rice, they have so many receivers there. I have to put them at 1 just because they haven't really had a bad loss. I know we lost to the Jets, and they just exceeded expectations. They look like a better team at the current moment in time. So I'm going to put them at 1. Number 2, I'm going to put us. Number 3, I'm actually going to go with a team that's you might not agree with, but I think Baltimore. Baltimore have been playing great ball.
Funny. I was going to put them at 3 too.
Really? Dude, their defense has really stepped up this year, even with all the injuries that has happened. And Lamar has been playing really well. Especially last game, they murdered the Lions. They've had a tough schedule, and I just see no reason that. I mean, I can't put the Niners top 3 after their 2 losses, especially last week against leading
Minnesota. Very poorly the past 2 weeks.
I mean, I know they're banged up with injury and riddled with injury, but that just goes into it. Just my most recency. I'm going to go Niners 4, and then at 5, I'm debating between Jacksonville and Detroit. I know I've seen Detroit play better. I mean, Jacksonville played better recently, and Detroit just get blown out. I'm going to put them tied for 5. I'm going to give a little nod to Detroit because I think they've been playing a little bit better on defense, and I think they have a great game this week. But yes, that's my top 5. Yeah. How about you, buddy?
Fair enough. Well, we've got a pretty similar list. I'm going to go with the Eagles at number 1, I think. I feel like you can go 1A, 1B with the Chiefs. Like you said, their defense has played very well. Somehow, no matter what the personnel is on their team, they always figure it out, and they always do it. But I do think that they've taken a step back from their team last year, with that being said. So, the Eagles have definitely been on and off. I am being biased on this one. I'm just going to be straight up. I feel like you could put either one of us at 1 or 2. I'm just going to give it to us the benefit of the doubt. We're going 1 with the Eagles. We're going 2 with the Chiefs. I'm also going 3 with the Ravens. They've been very impressive. Lamar has definitely been an MVP candidate. He's been, he's completing 72% of his passes right now. Just absolutely blew out the Lions, one of the best teams in the league. And they, like you mentioned, they've been riddled, and I mean riddled with injuries over there. So, if they're a healthy team, they're definitely a very scary team. And at 4, I think, this is where it gets tough, to be honest. because everybody kind of just took a tumble that would have been in those spots, of course, like you mentioned. I guess you kind of have to give it to the 49ers just because of their roster, but they've been playing very bad, and I want to make that clear. I almost don't want to put them in my top 5 at the very moment, but you do have to. You can't disrespect the team like that. They're a very talented team.
And I know you're going to put it 5, and I completely forgot about them.
Yeah. I actually don't think I know who I'm going to put at 5. So actually, why don't you give me who you think it's going to be?
I mean, as of recently, they haven't been playing well, but I thought you were going to put the Bills just because of their roster. I mean,
the Bills are definitely in the top 10, probably in the top 8. But the Bills,
they haven't played well.
They do this every year. They do it every year.
They're really weird.
And I have never had a whole lot of faith in the Bills, no matter how talented they get. Somehow they manage to do this every year. So it's been very strange.
Yeah, I'm sticking with mine strong, though, too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird year. Everybody's pretty even, So, believe it or not, I think at number 5, as much as it pains me to say it, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. They're a very good offense and defense. Dak has the same kind of issues that he always has with the turnovers. He's not doing much better or worse than Jalen Hurts, so I'm not going to give him too much slack yet. But yeah, they're a good team, no matter how much I hate them. They have a very good offense, great offensive line, great pass rush, great secondary. I think their secondary might be their key piece of their defense this year. I know they lost Trayvon Diggs, but they've been doing very well. So,
I mean, they did lose to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are the second worst team in the league. Therefore, the Cowboys are actually the second worst team in the league if you really look at it like that.
Yeah, well, let me give you a perfect example of the NFL for a second. The Cowboys absolutely blew out the Giants. Then the Giants went and beat the Cardinals the next week. And then the Cardinals went and beat the Cowboys pretty badly in the third week. It's actually how the NFL works,
Therefore, the Cowboys suck. Okay. As long as we're on the same page.
I mean, yeah, the Cowboys do suck. But they're top.
No, I do agree with that from a football standpoint. I'm just never going to say them in any regard.
Of course. I shouldn't. But give credit where credit's due. They're a good team this year. But I am going to say that, honorable mention, could have gone to the Bills, could have gone to the Bills, the Lions. And, people would probably crucify me for this because everybody puts them at the bottom of the league. But I think the Rams are good. Am I crazy for that?
Kind of.
I might be. I definitely might be. I don't know. I have a weird feeling they're going to be a dark horse to maybe make the playoffs at the end of the year.
They're a team they have got a little healthier, obviously, in cutback. Their defensive, their corners are just brutal, dude. They're a team that's fine. It's like one of those teams. They'll probably have a better record than teams like Atlanta. Atlanta leading the division right now. They might even have a better record than the Seahawks. They're probably honestly top half of the league, more toward the top, just because it kind of falls off a lot. Who knows? Did you know that Vegas has 3 wins? They've been awful this year. The Jets had 3 wins.
No, the more you look at the teams, the more you think, why does it feel like every team stinks this year?
All right, and then I'm gonna go one more point that I don't know why this just popped off the list.
Before you do go into there, I want to throw in the Dolphins on my side too.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. It's a very fair point. We just beat them, and I just kind of give us.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of just wrote them off.
Yeah, I don't know why. Cincinnati this year. Do they get it together and make the playoffs? If you had to pick right now, they're 3-3. They're coming off a bye, and they are facing San Francisco. I think this kind of they have a rough stretch. I don't know. I think this might be. They're playing a Sunday afternoon game, and then they have to go to Buffalo. I think this kind of determines their year.
I mean, statistically, even they're basically a 50-50 shot. So, I do think that they'll pull it through because I don't think that the league is that strong this year. But I don't think they're ever going to pull it fully back together. I do think they're gonna struggle and maybe have a first round loss in the playoffs or something like that. I don't think they're going to pull it together much. I think they'll pull it together enough to make the playoffs, but they've been shocking this year, and their O-line is terrible.
I thought they upgraded with Orlando, or I forget who they got, but anyway,
They might have injuries. I don't pay attention to the Bengals enough, but and obviously Burrow's been playing semi-hurt all year, but it's strange how much they fell off this year compared to last year. And I mean, you could say the same thing about the Bills too.
Yeah, I mean they've been weird. They kill teams, and then like even last night watching that Bills
I don't think the Bills are in as bad a spot as the Bengals are. I'll definitely put it that way.
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. They already have 5 wins. But all right, dude. Well, go Birds. The Phillies let us down. You know, like sadly.
Very sadly.
The game 7, that one stung a lot.
Yeah, we got a little too cocky. The city, the team, everybody. It was definitely a little much. And we just ran out of wind behind our sail. Baseball is a very streaky game, and you ride the waves. You ride the high waves and the low waves. And unfortunately, our high wave crashed at the wrong time, and we just ran out of juice somehow, and not a whole lot else to talk about. They just kind of blew it.
Yeah, that was disappointing for sure,
to say the least.
Yeah.
But now we've got our Eagles to lean on, rely on, take us back to the promised land.
Take us back to the promised land, baby.
So, with all that being said, thank you guys for tuning in today. It's been a great episode. Please feel free to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it. We always do. And obviously, we'll be rooting for the Eagles this week, hoping for another big win against the Commanders. And then we will be back next week talking about the Cowboys. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. That'll be a fun one.
That'll be a fun one.
I don't know if you recall last year's episode, but Maslij had a little episode that you might not want to miss this time. So
Sean's gonna have to bleep out some words. That's
but once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We always appreciate it. And we'll be back next week. Let's go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.
Yeah.